What's up, everybody? Coda Collectibles here with you today. I'm going to be taking a look at some Jerry Rice cards today, specifically some Relic cards from my PC. But before I get to that, I'm just going to flip through some singles while I talk a little bit about why I picked these cards up and started collecting them. So, the very first Super Bowl that I watched on live TV was Super Bowl 23 in 1989. I had a friend down the street whose parents actually had cable because my parents did not, so they invited me over to watch the big game. And I'd only recently gotten into collecting and watching sports and collecting sports cards, so I think maybe at the time I'd seen maybe one or two football games before I went down to watch the Super Bowl. So I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know why they called it the Super Bowl, to be perfectly honest. I was still trying to figure some of that out. But I went down and checked it out, and man, was it an epic game. So Super Bowl 23, 49ers beat the Bengals 20-16, I think. And I mean, of course, the guy everyone talked about on the field from that game was Joe Montana, the quarterback, because, well, everyone talks about the quarterback, and he was phenomenal. Definitely not going to take anything away from Joe. But man, there was someone else on the field who just really caught my eye and stood out to me, and he's the guy who walked away with the Super Bowl MVP that year, and that's Jerry Rice. And I haven't watched a lot of football at that point, as I mentioned, but to me, he was by far, the most exciting player that I'd seen up to that time. And he just zipped around, all the defensive players on the field. He looked like he was playing a different game than everybody else. He caught almost everything Montana threw at him. He had Velcro hands. I mean, there's no wonder his nickname was Flash. The guy just brought an excitement to the game that made you feel like you never knew what he was going to do next. So you just wanted to watch and try to figure out what he was going to bring. And he always brought it. Fast forward, I guess, to the next decade, to the 90s. I caught a few 49ers games on TV when I could. Mostly watched all the highlights on SportsCenter. I grew up in Atlanta, as I mentioned before, so unless, the 49ers were playing the Falcons, there wasn't much of a chance I was going to be able to see the games on TV. So it wasn't always easy to watch, but over that next decade or so, I did get to see Jerry Rice play in 3 more Super Bowls. And, as expected, he was pretty much phenomenal. You're talking about a guy who has the most career receiving yards, most career receptions, most career touchdown receptions, most career yards from scrimmage, most career touchdowns from scrimmage, most career all-purpose yards. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The guy just has about every record you can have for an offensive player at his position, which, is kind of why he's a legend. So, he quickly became my all-time favorite football player just because he's so much fun to watch and is, I'm sure you can tell, fun to collect for. I still have some Jerry Rice cards that I collected as a kid in my PC, but most of the Rice cards in my collection are just items I've picked back up when I got back into collecting a few years ago. Just things that I liked or I'd seen and always wanted to have a copy of, but maybe just never got around to picking one up. So as I started my, Rice PC, so to speak, I just started thinking about what I wanted to see in it and what I wanted to build out. The great thing about collecting Jerry Rice is that he has a ton of cards, and just everything you can think of from every series, every set that has been released, from just about every card manufacturer, and cards from every price point, just every genre. The football cards, he probably has a card in that set. The frustrating thing about collecting for Jerry Rice is that he has a ton of cards, so it can be super overwhelming to figure out kind of where to start in collecting and putting together kind of a PC of his stuff, just because there's so many really cool cards that he has you can pick up that are just floating around out there. So for me, I guess about a year ago, I decided to try to kind of refocus my collection, and I just started looking for Jerry Rice cards that had relics included. Nothing specific, But basically, just to see what was out there, I started buying just, things that were of certain price ranges, mainly because I'd never seen a lot of them in person. I just wanted to see what they looked like. So I went through what was available in the market, made some purchases and looked at them, and kind of just went from there, so to speak. I think this is one of the first ones that I picked up, which is a King of Kings. Kind of cool insert from Topps. I think it's a 2001 Topps, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there's 3 or 4 parallels of this, if I'm not mistaken. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but I think there's some that are actually numbered. And I know there's some that have different backgrounds and different variations, essentially. So anyway, the first card that I decided I wanted to pick up for my Relic collection was this Immaculate card, and it is a 2014 Immaculate, I believe. Yeah, 2014, and it's out of 80. And what I liked about it basically was that it was a 2-color patch, and it was a game used 2-color patch. So right away, I quickly was able to figure out, just from viewing these cards and cards similar to this card, that I definitely wanted to go after at least 2-color patches, and for sure things that had been game used versus just player worn. So this was really my first kind of pickup with those kind of thoughts in mind in terms of putting together a small collection. So, but yeah, this is a nice card. I do like this series. I think there may be another lower numbered variation also from this year that was maybe out of 25, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to get out my football almanac to look. But yeah, this was a fun pickup, a card that I really enjoy going back and to look at. So the second card that I picked up was actually, I'm going to call it a 3-color, because I'm terrible at figuring out what relics are actually on the cards. But I believe this is a piece of his jersey, a piece of his pants, and a piece of his glove, if I'm not mistaken. So this is an Exalted out of 20. It's kind of a neat card. 2017 Panini. And I just like the contrast of the black and white and the low numbering on it. And I like that it was, 3 different items displayed that were game used. So it's a fun card to have in the collection. This is another one I picked up. And I know some people don't love the Clear Vision series because it does have plastic over the patch, which is also one of the reasons that I'm not a big fan of grading relics, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I saw this come up. It's out of 25, and I just thought it was really sweet. It looks like it, I assume, was one of his jersey numbers, but just a really sweet, I guess you'd call it a jumbo patch from Clear Vision that I thought was really cool. So glad to have that one in the collection. The next one is a card I've only ever seen once, so I assume there's more copies of it out there. But this is actually the only one that I've personally ever seen pop up for sale online. This is an out of 25. Again, a 2-color patch, but it's a dual patch. Golden Receivers, Panini Black Gold, Jerry Rice. And I believe this is 2015. Yeah, 2015, I believe that's correct. So again, game used, just a sweet relic card. It's got some nice shine to it as well. Out of 25, so I assume there's not a lot of them floating around out there. I assume they've all been opened, possibly. I know some people occasionally will still do breaks of this product. I see them pop up on eBay. So maybe there's a few out there that still haven't been discovered yet, but just an awesome card. Certainly would like to pick up another one if that opportunity became available. Up next, I've got a Limited Threads out of 25. Another 2-color patch. It's got some fun shine to it. This series is interesting because some of the designs from Limited Threads I personally don't care for, but this is a 2014, and I actually think this is probably my favorite Limited Threads design, for football at least, from that year. So just another nice 2-color patch out of 25. Glad to have that one in the collection. Oops. And then we start to get into some of the bigger stuff, I guess you could say. So first up, we have a Flawless out of 20. And I believe this is the silver, if I'm not mistaken, because I think there's also a gold that is out of 10, I believe. So this is the 2016 Flawless. And again, I'm terrible with identifying what the relics are, but I believe this is a jersey and pant relic in the 2 windows. Game used, which is great, but this is just a sweet relic. Really cool. I like that it's the older style jersey. You can tell just by the pattern that's on there, so really nice. I was pumped to add that one to the collection. This is a gold 2016 as well, actually. So this is the Gold National Treasures Greatest Treasures out of 10. And it doesn't quite look like it, but if you tilt it a little to the side, it is actually a 3-color, because there's a black piece of fabric that you can just barely see there on the edge. That's kind of cool, along with the white and the burgundy from the team colors. So a nice one to have in the collection. You don't see these pop up too often either, so as long as they're within a certain price range, I'll usually try to make an offer on it if I see one come up. But just a fun piece of memorabilia from Jerry Rice to have in the collection. And the next up, I have a 2015 National Treasures Jerry Rice out of 25. And again, I just love these because they have those older style jerseys. I assume like from his 80s days with the 49ers is what it looks like. Again, I have no idea. It could be from the early 90s as well. I don't think Panini differentiates where or how they get their relics, but pretty neat. So another nice one. And then I also have the 2015 gold out of 10, which is a 2-color. And it's just another really nice example of his Panini Relic cards. Just beautiful. I love the textures and the printing. You can see, I mean, it almost looks like there's like a stretch mark on the number, or I assume that's the number that's printed on the jersey. It could just be one of the stripes on the sleeve, I'm not sure. But it does have a little bit of a line cutting down, which would make me think that maybe it's a part of a number. But it definitely looks like it's kind of distressed and has seen some use. So to me, that's just really, really cool. And then the last one is a big one I picked up not too long ago. It's a Panini Flawless Red, and it is out of 5. And again, it's just that really cool kind of throwback, or I guess vintage rather, piece of jersey material in there. Just a really, really cool card. So I'll throw some thoughts out about grading relics. So for certain cards with certain price ranges, I understand why it makes perfect sense to have them graded, specifically if they're Hall of Famers and or RPAs and that sort of thing. But to me, I honestly don't care that much about grading the relics, because I don't care about the condition too much of the cards, as long as they're not look like they've been dropped on the floor or drugged behind a vehicle. To me, it's more about the relic that is included in the card, and then somewhat secondary, I would say, the numbering on the card itself. To to me, it's more of the aesthetic of how it's presented, I would say, versus the grade. That's more of what interests me. So I'm not that big on grading relic cards. I doubt I will probably get any of these graded at any point in the future, unless I just change my mind about that. But I like being that close to the game, that close to the players. The fact that I could open this magnetic case if I wanted to and actually touch the jersey, which I don't do, but you could if you wanted to, and that's kind of neat. Whereas if it's encased in a slab, obviously your ability to do that, it just isn't there. So to me, it's cooler just to have them in my collection where I can look at them and admire them, think about those amazing games that I got to see the player in, and kind of relive some of those moments and just have a piece of their history essentially in my collection, which is why I like the relic cards to begin with. So anyway, that's my little diatribe on why I prefer my relic cards for my PC to be ungraded. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at my Jerry Rice relic card collection from my PC. I'll continue to, I'm sure, grow this collection and pick up more of these as I see them that catch my eye and add them to the collection. And I'll probably do another video once I get another stack of these in as a follow-up. I also have a small Jerry Rice auto collection I'm working on too, so I may put a video on that together at some point, as soon as I kind of get some pieces that I have had my eye on put together for that collection. So if you guys have an interest in that, let me know, and I'll put together a video with some content on that as well. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. See you guys later.